What's up everybody, welcome back. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment on these videos. It really helps the channel a lot. You can always check out all of the other Wizard Golf Lessons playlists by clicking up here or the link in the description. New videos come out every Sunday. And if you would like to leave a donation and support the channel, there are links in the description also for that. Today we're going to continue our exploration in golf and the different shots necessary. And today we're going to talk about a relatively new club, the hybrids. Now a hybrid golf club is as its namesake says, is a mix between an iron and a wood. Last week we talked about woods, and the week before that we talked about the fairway woods, 5 wood, 7 wood, 3 wood, and now we're moving on to the hybrids, which are also long clubs, but they are combinations of woods and irons. The first hybrids seem to show up about 20 years ago or so. It may have been before that, but that's when I remember them showing up in the late 90s. And the hybrids are actually really good clubs. The technology has come a long way, and I really like the hybrid clubs. My hybrid that I play, I have one hybrid, a 3 hybrid, which I'll show you here in a minute, is one of my favorite clubs in my bag. This is the hybrid that I use. It's a Callaway Big Bertha, so it's a little old. It's probably 7 or 8 years old now. It's a 3, but I really like it. It's adjustable. It's a 19 degree. And the hybrids were designed to replace the long irons. The long irons historically have been difficult to hit. 3 irons, 4 irons, 2 irons, and even 1 irons are very difficult to hit. Challenging. It's hard to get a lot of loft out of them as you hit them. They're very inconsistent. The dispersion is very wide. So the hybrids were a combination where you would have the stability of the shape of the wood, but yet still have the playability of the iron. And that's the thing about the woods, is that because of its rather large head, the playability was lower. You couldn't use it in so many different lies as you could an iron, because an iron was smaller and you could get it in those places where a wood wouldn't fit. So the hybrid was kind of a cross between the two, where you could still have the playability of the iron but have the forgiveness of the wood. And it is really fantastic. I guess when I got this almost 10 years ago, I took the 3 iron out of my bag and decided to get this 3 hybrid, and this thing is just fantastic. It has allowed me to hit some par 5s in 2 shots to get on the green under regulation much more times than I ever did with a 3 iron, because it's actually a little longer than my 3 iron, it's more forgiving, and the loft on it is the same, but I can send the ball up much higher into the air so it falls softer onto the green. So I really recommend the hybrid clubs, especially for higher handicapped players. Even lower handicap players will benefit from a hybrid. If you do not like hitting your 3 iron or your 4 iron or even your 5 iron, consider really getting some hybrid clubs, because they really are fantastic. I really like the technology of these hybrids. These things are versatile. You can use them in various different situations. They're far more playable than a wood. They are also shorter than a wood, so the length is shorter, so they're a lot more consistent. And you can chip with it. You can just do various things with this. You can hit it out of worse lies than you would be able to a wood, because you can play it like an iron. So if it's sitting down a little bit, you can still get on it with this hybrid. And it's going to send it up high enough. Usually the trajectory that comes off of these things is going to be higher than the iron with the same loft. So it'll land soft. You'll have a chance to stick the green. And this is just a fantastic club. So highly recommended here with the hybrids. In this video, we'll be discussing the foundations of the hybrid, and that would be grip, setup, stance, and posture. For the grip, we want to use the same grip that we've been using throughout this video series. So be sure to check out lesson 1 if you haven't already seen that. Key points here though, you definitely want the pad of the left hand on top, not through the hand, but on top like this, and the right hand such that the grip is very much in the fingers and not so much through the hand or too far under. So get lots of details on that by seeing lesson 1, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that here. Next, we'll talk about the stance and ball position. Where do we play the hybrids? These are rather long irons, so the hybrids are replacing your long irons, your 3, 4, or 5, or even 6 and 7 iron sometimes. And we're going to play the ball position somewhat front of center. maybe as far back as the middle, depending on the trajectory, but somewhere middle forward. So to set up the ball position, we set up with the ball in our center, and then we decide how far back we want to play it, depending on the lie, depending on the slope, but generally in the middle of the stance towards the front of our stance. Because the ball is on the ground, we do have to hit slightly down on it, and we want to play these things, I don't know, somewhere around here in my stance. I still want to be able to hit downward onto the ball to get it off the ground. So somewhere in here, I'm going to play the ball middle forward of my stance, not too far forward, because I don't want to be coming up on the swing. I do want to be hitting down on it slightly. So we set up in the center, and I decide where I'm going to play the ball. I take a step forward, take a step to the back. My step forward is slightly less than my step to the rear. And you can see with this ball position, it causes the shaft lean to be somewhat vertical, not too far forward. If I play the ball further back, this is a more steep shaft lean. So this is going to promote a more downward blow. The further forward you place the ball, the more vertical the shaft lean. So this is going to be a more shallow blow into the ball. Higher trajectory. So playing the ball further back will generally give you a lower trajectory and a more downward blow. Playing the ball a little bit further forward is going to give you a little bit of shallower angle of attack and a little bit higher trajectory, higher loft, because the shaft will be more vertical when it hits the ball. As I take my stance here, you notice that my stance is somewhat wide. This is a long iron, so I do need some stability. When we hit the long irons, we're trying to get a little bit of distance out of them. It's a longer swing. We do need a little bit of support for us, so we don't want to have too narrow of a swing. We want to have kind of a wider stance to support the kind of power that we're going to be putting onto this ball, onto this swing. My stance width is not going to be nearly as wide as it is with the driver, slightly inside of that, just outside the shoulders, maybe at shoulder width apart. This is going to be a pretty good stance for hitting a hybrid. I also stated this before, but I do advocate when you take your stance to have your front foot, for me that's my left foot, to have the front foot flared open slightly as opposed to having the left foot square. This will promote and ease your rotation through the ball. Having your left foot square makes it harder to turn through the ball and follow through. You're kind of stuck here with your hips, so having the foot open slightly will promote a better rotation through the ball. Now lastly, we'll go over posture. I'll show you my posture down the line, and then I'll show you a front view. We want to try to keep our spine relatively straight. This provides us for a nice way to rotate our spine and rotate in. It's much harder to turn from a hunched position to turn consistently. So we want to be nice and strong. The butt kind of goes back. Having our butt back gives us a counterbalance to be able to lean over and not have too much weight on the balls of our feet, but where we can be more centered. So having the butt back gives us a counterbalance to lean over. So a spine straight, butt back, legs rather extended. We do want to stand tall. We get power from being tall, so we can fall into the ground and load up. So this would be my posture from the back, from down the line. And from the face-on view, with the longer irons, we don't want too steep of an angle of attack. So in order to shallow out the angle of attack with any club, you can incorporate some spinal tilt behind the ball. The more spinal tilt you have, the shallower the angle of attack is going to be. So for this particular iron, which is like a 3 hybrid or a 3 iron, I want to head it kind of shallow. I don't really want to make a divot with the 3 iron. I just want to sweep it off the ground, much like the woods. So we do incorporate some spinal tilt. If you're having problems getting any kind of elevation out of your long irons, out of your hybrids, it's likely that you're setting up too squarely like this, and your angle of attack is very steep. Now, because the nature of the hybrid is pretty easy to hit, you can hit it like this and still get some loft, but it will impart quite a lot of backspin into the ball, and these balls will tend to rise into the air and then not quite carry as far as if they're struck with lower spin. A lower spin ball is certainly going to carry farther than a high spin ball. So if you want that kind of high piercing carry trajectory, you want to get some spinal tilt behind the ball so that you can hit this. Now, when you get some spinal tilt behind the ball, you're going to be a little bit further, so you may have to play the ball a little bit further back in your stance so that you can still catch it, because by getting spinal tilt, we're hitting shallower, so the point where the club hits the ground may be a little bit further back than you're used to. Nevertheless, getting some kind of spinal tilt will shallow your angle of attack and allow you to hit this ball from a shallow angle and get that ball up into the air with relatively low spin so that you can get maximum carry out of it and get some nice high loft out of it without getting it to climb up through backspin. That's going to do it for today. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And remember, you can always check out 2 of my other videos here and subscribe here. Catch y'all next week.